our cost per lead sucked. A campaign that we had spent months on with a significant upfront investment looked like it was tanking. But a change to just 33 words not just brought the campaign back from the brink, but turned it into a wildly profitable and successful campaign. You see, we were launching a webinar series on which an offer was made for a digital product. So we ran this by the book. We invested heavily in the development of the premise, the content, the digital product, even hiring in a top copywriter with serious chops to draft the promotional content for the webinar, including the webinar registration page. When it came to launch, we were so excited to see this take off, but it stuttered badly. We struggled to get leads from our Facebook ads, and the ones we got were far too high a price to make the campaign work in any way and be any way profitable. You know, when we looked at it, the Facebook ad metrics, well, they were okay. We knew we could improve them over time, but when we dug into the stats, it was clear that the biggest issue was not the ads themselves, but the conversion rate of the opt-in page. So we rolled up our sleeves and we started testing. A simple tweak and a modification of just 33 words on the opt-in page boosted our opt-in conversion rate from well below 20% to 78%, which brought our cost per lead from $28 to just $7. You see, your landing page conversion rates will have far more of an impact on your cost per lead than your CPM ad from Facebook, and best of all, you've got complete control over it. Hi, I'm Micheál O'Neill, and if you're an online course creator or a membership site owner who is about to launch a Facebook ad campaign, who has a Facebook ad campaign that's underperforming, or you have a Facebook ad campaign that's working really well and you now want to scale it, well, this video series is for you. In this series, we're going to uncover the approach you need to take to plan, launch, and manage a profitable ad campaign. The first 5 sections, we will look at the key principles and approaches that you need to understand to ensure you get the best outcomes when launching any campaign. In the final video of the series, we're going to look at some big tactical what's working now tips. So no matter where you're looking at this, make sure you keep an eye out for all the future videos in the series. Today, I'm going to look specifically at your landing page optimization, and predominantly I'm going to focus on our opt-in page optimization, but the same basic principles apply to sales or offer pages. The reason I'm focusing on opt-in page optimization is that in our, kind of PE tree model, the plan, enroll, engage, and elevate model, we're going to start off driving traffic from Facebook to a free opt-in incentive. Driving cold traffic to an offer for a digital project is a much tougher sell. And even though it can be done, it's not necessarily my preferred approach. I think you need to first get people in, you need to get them interested, you need to get them excited, and then put an offer in front of them. But, conversion rate optimization, or CRO, is a huge area and is in its own right a highly sought after marketing specialism. So my goal with this video is to give you, the course creator, the membership site owner, insights into key actions you can take to boost your opt-in rates. I'm going to look at 3 core elements of landing page optimization. The first is your basic page layout and what should be included. The second element is the 5 core elements of opt-in page optimization. And the third is how to approach conversion rate optimization. That's practically putting what you're going to learn in this video into action. Your ability to optimize your opt-in and your offers is one of the key skills that that you really need to develop as an online entrepreneur. Very rarely will you ever hit a home run. All online marketing is iterative and it follows this optimization path. And if you get this wrong, your cost per leads will be high, which will mean your Facebook ads won't be profitable, which means you won't be able to attract fresh, perfect fit prospects into your world, which means your list will get, stale, and ultimately means your online business will falter and you'll never really break through and succeed in sharing the transformation that you can help people achieve with the world. But when you really nail your conversion rate optimization, you will be able to profitably attract perfect fit clients into your world, meaning that not just leads. It's not just about cheap leads. It means you're going to get leads at a rate which you will be able to recover a positive ROI in the short term. Those leads will then be primed to convert when you promote your primary offers to them. And this will mean you'll be able to invest with certainty in your lead generation process, attracting a stream of fresh people seeking the transformation that you can offer into your world. And ultimately, amplifying your message and getting it out there. So speaking of amplifying your message, one of the best things you can do to amplify your message and attract new leads, build your online revenue, is to like, subscribe, and share this video. So give me the thumbs up, ring the bell, tell your friends. If you're finding this in any way useful, I would really appreciate your help in growing my community. Because the bigger the community gets, the more time and effort I can put into producing, sharing free content like this, which you can use to grow your business, get your message into the world, and create the life that you want. So no matter where you're looking at this, please like, share, follow, subscribe my profile for lots more videos on this topic and indeed other topics. So just to underline how important conversion rate optimization is, landing page optimization, let's just say you have an opt-in page. And that opt-in page is converting at 20% at the moment. So you got a Facebook ad campaign which is driving traffic to a lead magnet. And each one of those leads is costing you $10. If you take the conversion rate of your page from 20% to 40%, with everything else remaining constant, your cost per lead will drop from $10 to $5. Now, if we were to bring that a bit further, if you up the conversion rate on the page from 20% to 80%, with everything else remaining constant, your CPL will drop from $10 to $2.50. So just think about that. Conversion rate optimization is, just such a powerful tool in reducing your cost per lead. It's next to impossible to get those sort of improvements just from tweaking audiences or creatives in Facebook ads. And that's why I think this is so important. It may not be the glamorous part of Facebook advertising, but trust me, it's the one that will provide the greatest return on investment, especially in the early phases of your campaigns. So let's kick into it. So the first thing I'm going to look at is, what are the key components of a landing page? There's often this, I suppose, we want to get as much stuff as possible onto our landing page to convince somebody that they should sign up. But what I found in practice is the simpler and the easier and the less content that you have on your page to start off with, the more effective your landing page will be. Now, obviously, over time and when you start applying these concepts, you're going to be able to add more content in because you're going to know what to test, how to test, and how people react. But for now, what we're going to look at is, we're going to say, what are the key elements? Well, first you have a headline, which is probably the most important one. Your headline, you're also then, underneath your headline, you're going to have a subhead. So your headline is literally a couple of words, maybe 4 or 5 words, 6 words max, which describes what somebody is getting. Your subhead gives them some further, qualification on that. Really what we're doing with our headline and our subhead is we are making an offer to people of what they will get when they opt in for this. Then you've got your body copy. Now, we look at the differences between a lead magnet and a webinar in a second, but your body copy is normally a couple of bullet points underneath your subhead. Then on the page as well, you're going to have a button, which is the button that people are going to register, and then also you want to have some image. There is a kind of a slight difference. So one of the things that you need to think about when you're designing your opt-in page, if you're giving a free lead magnet, something like a PDF download, so whether that be a checklist, whether that be a guide, whatever it is you're doing, or maybe access to a video, maybe you're giving them some sort of process document or something that they can download readily. In that instance, I'm going to suggest that less is more, and that you want to keep your opt-in page to a single page of a screen. If you're going for something like a webinar, so if you're stepping up in terms of what they need to commit to, so obviously with a webinar, they're probably going to be committing to 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour of their time. This is quite a commitment. You're probably going to need to have a little bit of additional information. So for a webinar, you're going to keep the same structure, so above the fold, and this is a term from the newspaper, kind of industry when I started out. Above the fold means basically what people can see immediately. So what I described earlier, which is your headline, your subhead, your body copy, button, and image, they are the elements that are above the fold. Now, below the fold for something like a webinar, you want to include maybe some other things. And those other things could well be, more details on what you're going to cover in the webinar. You could include something like your, kind of your bio. So somebody who might not know who you are, to give them another reason to opt in. Or you could just, reinforce some of the points from your headline, your subhead, and your body copy. But for now, what we're going to focus is more on the opt-in page, and I'm going to say to keep it less detail is better at the start. Because one of the things that you have to realize is every single word that you put on the page, if you cannot say that word is specifically moving a prospect when they land on the page, that's specifically moving them towards opting in, it's moving them away from it. So if that word is not specifically pushing them forward, it's actually repelling them. So you want to keep your words to a minimum so that you can control that. And then over time you can build in, you can use more language. As you get to better understand the language that your prospects are using, you can add more detail to the page. But really, if we look at, what's the purpose here of your headline? Well, one of the big things that you want to convey is you want to connect on an emotional level. You want to be very specific about what somebody is going to experience. Really, and if you've looked at the earlier videos in this, I covered in the video just before this, I covered offer. And really what you have to do in there is you have to answer the question, what is in this for me? You have to give them a very, very quick win. They have to know when I opt in exactly what they're going to get, and you should link it in some way to some element of emotion. So you need to be very, very specific here. Then your body copy, you have to give back maybe some of the emotion up, either expand on the emotion or give them something in terms of, logic that backs up their decision. So as humans, we will make, decisions based on our emotion, but we need to have the logic there to justify the decisions that we make emotionally. We think we're logical beings, but we're not really. We're still governed by our emotions, so we have to connect, move people on that, but you have to give people enough logic that they say, yes, this makes sense. So really here, you need to identify specifically how their life will change. So what is their life like at the moment? What are they trying to avoid? And there is a big thing. When we look at headline, subhead, there are two different ways that you can go. Either you can go positive, as in they will move towards attaining something, or it could be a negative, and that is moving away from something. Now, human nature dictates that by and large we will do more to avoid pain than we will to gain pleasure. Now, I know some people make a decision in their business that they are only going to focus on the positive, and that's fine. If that is, in your case, brilliant. And some people do find that their audience responds better to positive headlines and positive opt-ins than they do to negatives. So this is purely on a personal level. But what I will say is 9 times out of 10, when you test it, more so an avoidance of pain will tend to get you slightly better results. So do think about that. And sometimes what I do in my split testing is I will always run positive against negative, and then you will find, well, which one is serving better. So that's our headline, our subhead, our body copy. Normally our body copy is going to be, so if we're saying we have a 1-page opt-in, so everything that, everything is above the fold essentially. You're going to have the layout of the page. You're probably going to have an image, well, as you see it on the left-hand side of your page. And then to the right of the image, you're going to have the headline, the subhead, maybe 4 or 5 bullet points max, and then a button to register. And really, that is kind of the template format of an opt-in page that has been found to convert better. So, you're not trying to reinvent the wheel here. Definitely start there. Now, in terms of the image, well, what are some of the things in there? There's two trains of thought really here on this. More and more people want to, overly designed graphics are not working as well from a conversion perspective. People want to feel some sort of connection. Now, you're either looking at connecting with you, so that would be an image of you in some way, or what you could do is get an image of your avatar. So almost that they are looking at themselves. So that's two different ways that you go. Your image will, if we had to talk about, in terms of what element is going to move the conversion lever the most, I would say headline in the order of appearance, and the order that you should look to optimize is headline, subhead, body copy, image. They are going to be, and then your call to action on your actual button. That's going to be the order in which they're going to move the lever, as in increase your conversion rate optimization. Now, just when I am talking about the opt-in page, some other key things that you need to have in there, which sometimes people forget, is you're going to need to have a privacy policy, maybe terms and conditions. So the privacy policy is required by Facebook. If you're driving traffic from Facebook to a landing page, Facebook doesn't just look at the ads, as in your ad copy and your image and make decisions on it. Facebook is also going to crawl your opt-in page. When they crawl your opt-in page, they're going to want to see a privacy policy, and in there you should have, there should be details on what sort of pixels you're using, what data you're collecting, how you use that data. Obviously, this is going to be slightly complicated over the last couple of years by things like GDPR, and also there is ever increasing data protection on the US side of things as well. So you really need to have a very strong privacy policy which lays out all of the pixels you're using. So maybe you're using Google Analytics, maybe you're using your Facebook pixel. You might in some way have, some of the tracking, the visual tracking tools like Hotjar in place. Whatever pixels, you're going to have those identified. You're going to have details on who to contact if people have data protection concerns, and that all needs to be included on your privacy policy page. The other big thing here that you need to have is an earnings disclaimer. If you're in any way promising, anything where people can earn money from what you're teaching, you have to have an earning disclaimer on the page. If you search online, you're going to find plenty of examples for this. There are also legal services which create template earning disclaimers and template privacy policies. So if you're starting out, maybe one of those templates can do, but what I would say is you do want to have, kind of put some thought and effort into this. So, at a certain point in your business, you're going to want to go and have these specifically drafted by attorney, solicitor, whatever it is. So they are the key components of a landing page. But now let's look at what are the core elements of opt-in page optimization. Well, one of the first big ones is landing page design. And this is one that is unquestionable. There are certain things that you can do which will increase from a design perspective, which will increase opt-ins, and there are certain things you can do which will decrease. One of the big ones that I've just shared with you is to try get as much as possible above the fold. Far too often I go to opt-in pages and the button to register is below the fold. Most people land on a page and then they just bounce off it. And if they don't see that there's some action that they're being guided to take, they are not going to do it. Then you also want to look at, from your landing page design, how is the key information highlighted? So obviously you want to have your headline should be done larger text. That should be the most prominent thing that people see on the page. Then you should have your subhead, again, will be a larger font. I can't tell you what font size you should use, but they should be the two most prominent things on the page. And remember, simple designs are going to win out. People need to be able to see the key information on the page. So use contrast. Don't have light colors or kind of light fonts sitting on light backgrounds. It's going to be hard to see. Make sure it really stands out. And when I say landing page design, effective landing pages don't have to look really well. Very often, ugly landing pages convert better, because ugly landing pages, they just literally do what they say. People come in, they have a singular focus. The most important thing is that people know exactly what they are going to get. So it answers the question, what's in it for me, and the action that they need to take. And that all needs to hit them over the head the second they land on the page. Second thing, in terms of core elements of opt-in page, is opt-in page copy. We have spoken about that. The most important element of your opt-in page copy is going to be your headline, quickly followed by your body copy. And you have to answer. It's all about self-interest. You have to be very, very specific. You have to tell them what your promise is, how, your offer, and future pace them. So really what you want to do is you want to bring people through, okay, what exactly is their life going to be like after they have taken the action that you're suggesting, in this case, opted in. So a really good example here is, let's say if I was creating a lead magnet. So creating a lead magnet, I could have a lead magnet. The headline could be, generate more leads for your business. Now, what do you think, so people don't connect with more. It's the same as guitar. People don't connect with better. So, having a headline like be a better guitar player is not motivating. However, if you were to offer, get your first or next 1,000 email subscribers, that is something very, very specific, and somebody can see, after I've downloaded this document, it will be possible for me to look into my email provider and see 1,000 additional emails in there. If you were taking the guitar example, instead of being, be better, like people just, and I see it so often, abstract, kind of aspirational sort of thing, do not motivate people. However, if you had a headline which says, learn 10 songs that you can play back to back in 3 weeks and while practicing 10 minutes a day. Now that is very, very specific, and people know, okay, well, I only have to practice 10 minutes a day, and in 3 weeks I'll be able to play 10 songs all the way through. Now that is a concrete offer. And remember, when it comes to copy, the fewest words possible to get the result that you want. Never put in. If you're in doubt, if a word is not specifically moving somebody forward, take it out, because it's going to end up preventing them from moving forward. So, far too often people feel that they need, and this also comes into why is the difference between like an opt-in page for a lead magnet that's instantly downloadable. Why is there a difference between that and a webinar? Because with a webinar, there's more consideration. They're going to have to invest more than just their email address to get it. So you have to convince them more. So think about the level of the pitch, the level of the investment that somebody has to make is almost commensurate with the amount of copy that you need in order to get the result. So the third element, call to action. So the placement of the button here is and really your call to action is going to be your call to action. You want to get somebody to click a button and to open up the opt-in and to submit their contact details. The placement of the button is hugely important. That button has to be on the first screen, so it has to be above the fold. And make sure here, and most people, if you're running Facebook ads, most people are going to be coming from visiting on mobile. So you need to make sure that the button on mobile is above the fold as well. And then also you should make the call to action on your button benefit driven. And what I mean by that is call to actions like register now or sign up now, they're not very effective. Instead of that, like going back to my old example, get 1,000 leads today, or kind of start in some way, link it to the benefit that you can provide. So start learning 10 songs today, or start learning the guitar today. So where you would actually include some level of the transformation that you can provide on the button that you are asking people to sign up. Then we come to the fourth element, which is form data. So every opt-in page will have some element of a form. Now, before I talk about it, there are two, I suppose, camps here when it comes to forms. And I do bring this up because this is always something that I test. Digital marketer, Ryan Dice, digital marketer, a number of years ago, did a lot of research, and they found for them and their audience that forms where people could see the data that they needed to enter on the page, as in where you had name, email address on the page with a submit button, were converting better than forms that were hidden. What do I mean by a hidden form? A form where you had to click a button to see what data that you had. This does make sense. Now, what I found in all of my tests is that the pop-up button actually works better. But I do want to point it out there. So every time that I am ever designing an opt-in, whether it be for a lead magnet webinar or a masterclass, like a launch opt-in, this is one element that I always test. I always put it on to make sure that I have where the forms are visible on the page and a submit, and then another one which is more the call to action that I was just talking about. The other thing is multi-stage forms can actually work quite well. So for every piece of data that you ask for, every extra piece of data is going to reduce your conversion rate. So if you ask for first name, last name, email address, company name, address, phone number, you're going to have a much, much lower conversion rate than if you only ask for email address. Now, personally, in my email marketing, I always like using somebody's first name. So I will always at least ask for first name. However, some hugely successful marketers don't. They just get the email address because that is the very highest conversion rate that you can have, because you're asking for the least amount of data, just the email address. This is a balance that you need to figure out. What information do you absolutely need from the opt-in? 9 times out of 10, I would just collect email address and first name. However, if you wanted to add in additional items, let's say you're doing a webinar, a huge thing at the moment which really, really works, and it does increase not your conversion, but it increases your show up rates at webinars, is to ask people if they want to have to be text when the webinar is starting or in the run up to it. So they supply a phone number, a mobile number. So one of the things that you could do is you can have a multi-stage form. If you do want to ask for, multiple data points, you just show email address, first name. When they click that, then they get to a second part of the form and they're asked for further information. Why does this work? Well, why it works is because there's a level of commitment. Somebody puts in their email address and their name, they click submit, they think that, well, that's it, job done, and now they get asked for additional information. At that stage, they've already committed to the process. If they saw that there were 5 or 6, fields of data on the opt-in form, they might leave. However, if they're presented with 2, they fill it in. Now they feel they're already halfway there. So that's why the multi-stage forms can work quite well. The 5th element here is page speed, and this is absolutely massive. So for every, and people have found from the revenue generated and also opt-ins that for every second lower your page speed is, you are going to drop a significant amount of conversions. Now, the thing is, most of us will be using something like ClickFunnels, Lead Pages, one of the page builders. If you are not, the first thing and the most important thing to think about, so if you're using a WordPress website, maybe with something like Elementor where you're building your own opt-in pages, the first place to look is host. That's what's going to have the most impact on your page speed times. So your host, if you're using something like GoDaddy, it's probably not going to be very good. If you're using somebody or more, step up in terms of SiteGround's speed is quite good. But if you're on a shared hosting, your page speed is probably going to be a little bit slower. It does get costly when you go into, dedicated hosting where you're on your own server. That can get costly. One of the things that I've experimented and had great success is using Amazon servers. So Amazon servers are they are difficult to set up. It's more complex, but you get really, really fast page speed time. If you're using a page builder, you're not going to necessarily have to worry about host. That is what the page builders do. However, in there you are probably going to have to look at, kind of at code. So stuff like, especially, in WordPress, bloat in terms of CSS and JavaScript will slow your page down. And also pixels. So every pixel that loads on your page, if that's Google Analytics, if it's Facebook, if it's, a Hotjar, as I mentioned earlier on, every single one of those pixels are going to slow down your page load. Then as well, the other big thing that this applies to everybody is image size. So if you're using images on your page, make sure you have optimized your images before you upload them to your page builder or to your site. So make them the optimum size. Very often I'll go onto a landing page, it'll load slow, there'll be an image that'll come down, and the image could be, 4,000 pixels by 3,000 pixels. That's not needed on the resolution of screens that we look at. You could reduce the overall, the pixel size, and that would reduce the file size of the image. So make sure, optimize your images. Now, one other thing, so we're looking specifically here from a Facebook campaign, Facebook ad campaign. So we're talking, to opt in. If you're looking from an organic perspective, one of the big optimizations that you can run is linking content through. So let's say if you have a lead magnet, what we've been discussing to date is that you have a Facebook ad campaign that's driving traffic to that lead magnet. But if you think back to the value ascension roadmap that I was developing, where you have 5 to 7 pieces of, kind of core topics of content that you talk about on a regular basis. Each one of those I'm suggesting that you develop a lead magnet for. Now when you're putting out blog content, video content, each of your blog's videos will fit into one of these content buckets. And now you can start linking from a blog post to a lead magnet. Make sure that everywhere that you can, and in each one of your buckets of content, that you link organically to the lead magnet. So obviously creating internal links between your organic will also help your opt-ins, and is an opt-in page optimization in its own right. Okay, so we've covered now, a lot of what should be on the page, how to think about the headline, the subhead, the body copy, the image. Then look at, what are all the elements in terms of optimizing. Now, how about an approach? So how do we practically put this into place? And there are 5 steps in order to do this. And before I get into them, I just, your conversion rate optimization, your opt-in page land. Remember, this happens throughout your entire funnel. So we're talking about it now as it pertains specifically to landing page optimization. But remember, your kind of conversion rate optimization is going to track through all. You're going to be looking at your ads. How do we optimize my ads? How optimize my ad copy, my ad campaigns? How do I optimize my opt-in page? How do I optimize, if we're doing a webinar, people to show up? How do I optimize my sales page? And I think it's very important to be methodical with your optimizations. And that means documenting it as it goes, because on longer term projects, you're going to make optimizations to your page, and then 3 to 4 months later, you might end up making the same optimizations, but you've already, if you don't have a documented approach to your conversion rate optimization, you're going to end up redoing things, and you're going to end up losing learning. So the first thing that I would say is you need to have and start an optimization diary, a conversion rate optimization diary, or just your standard optimization diary. And every change that you make, document it. And what we look at, when we go through, we look at what we need to document in a minute, but did you at least just document, hey, this is a change I made, this is the result that I found. And in that way then, as the campaign goes along, you're not going to end up recovering or redoing things that you already did. So how do we go about, looking at our conversion rate optimization? Well, the first thing is research. So we have to research, what's the best practice approaches. We're going to have to research what results. So we're going to have to get in, your research level is, what stats am I getting? And it's very important to have, if you're running Facebook ad campaign, that you do have, either Google Sheets or an Excel doc set up where you can go and you can track the daily performance of ads and the daily performance of your opt-in page, so that you can see day on day what rate that page is converting at. Another very important thing when we're looking at this, because of the recent, Apple the iOS changes, the reporting in Facebook is not as accurate as it used to be, and even when Facebook without Apple was not very accurate. So what I would always suggest is that you include a column, as well as the leads that Facebook is telling you that you have gotten. Always include a column which is from your email provider or your opt-in page, how many leads went directly through. Because of Apple, Facebook isn't going to be able to report on everybody, so you're going to get a cost per lead at a certain rate, but you might well found that you end up with more leads in your email platform, and it's very important for you to track, well, what is my actual cost per lead. So let's look at, that's our research. Then once you've done your research, once you've looked into, well, where are the weak points? So like I said, with the campaign that I mentioned earlier in this video, we looked at it and we went, right, the campaign's not working, but what element of it is it? And we looked at the ads, we looked at the stats. Well, okay, our click-through rate is okay. We're getting the traffic to the page, but that's where it's breaking down. So then we had to look and we had to come up with a hypothesis to say, well, what is it that we think is not working on this page? And when I looked, and remember, we had really a top-notch copywriter brought in to draft the copy to page. And when I looked at it, I couldn't be specific. I couldn't know exactly what was causing the problem. But what I did was I sat down and I said, okay, what I think it is that it's the headline and subhead is not capturing people's attention. So I created my hypothesis, which was if we were to redraft the page and make it more benefit focused, or what we actually did was we actually made it more away from pain focused, that then we would get increased opt-ins. Then we looked at, there was probably about 5-6 other things. I wanted to optimize, I wanted to get a better image, and there was some of the body copy that I wanted to change and to test. So overall, I probably had about maybe 5 or 6 things, a hypothesis which said, if we did all of this, we could potentially increase the conversion rate. But now we had to prioritize. So the first thing we did is we took the headline. The headline and the subhead went hand in hand. And then we went into the testing phase. So this is the next part where we kept a sample. So the landing page, we kept kind of the original version there, and then we duplicated it. We set it up in a split test. So most of the landing pages can do this, ClickFunnels, lead pages, and they can set it up that you can run pairs in test. And all it does is it alternates which page it shows every other time. So every second visit will show the second page. And what we did is we made the changes, we had the control version, and then we had the revised version. And instantly we saw a result. Now, we didn't get all the way from sub 20 to 78% it was in the end, just by changing, obviously there were other changes that were made along the way as well. But what we saw is, yes, we're on the right road. And it wasn't the first time that we saw it. So we made multiple changes to the headline. And I think it was about maybe the 4th or 5th headline that we tested that got us the result that we wanted. So you're going to go in, keep working on your hypothesis. Sometimes it will, sometimes you'll look at it and it'll go, okay, well, is my hypothesis wrong, or is it just this version of it? And that's what you need to make a call on. So keep testing, and then learning. So then you run it, you learn, you kind of come up with, well, what did I learn from that? And this will not be, kind of what you learn about your audience. So how do your audience interact with the opt-in page? So they are the 5 elements of CRO and how to apply what we've just talked about practically. And what we've also looked at today, we've looked at the key elements of opt-in page. So we looked at the headline, body copy, button, image. We looked at the 5 key elements of CRO, so design, copy, call to action, form, page speed. And then we looked at how to implement the landing page optimization. And remember, this is a process. Like everything else, it's not a matter of getting it perfect. It's just a matter of getting it started. And I really, really like the PAR method. So PAR is plan, act, reflect. And that's what 90% of marketing is. So you plan out what you want to do, you act, and then you reflect. And you take the reflection, you take the learning that you've gone, and bring that forward into the next iteration. Next time you're planning, you plan based on what you learned from the last one. So wherever you're looking at this today, please like, share this video. Make sure to subscribe and like this channel or account for lots more content like this. Even more importantly, please do scroll down, leave me a comment. I promise I reply to each and every one personally. I know this can be a frustrating area, so let me know what challenges you face with your Facebook ads, whether you're just getting started or you're a seasoned pro looking to scale your ad campaigns. Sometimes all we need is a bit of encouragement and to know we're not battling it out on our own. So whatever you're facing today, you got this. We're here for you. Thank you for tuning in, and I can't wait to see you again real soon.